Today on the show, we have Marlene Rubenstein and Dena Fox from Baird Warner. Marlene and Dena are co-founders of the Rubenstein Fox Team on Chicago's North Shore and the city. This mother-daughter duo have a team of agents working with them, giving this top-producing team the ability to help buyers, sellers, and renters from the city of Chicago all the way up through the North Shore and beyond. Whether it's luxury real estate, starter homes, or renting your first apartment, Marlene and Dena are your go-to for all things real estate. They are not only top 1% producers in the city of Chicago, they're also top 1% producers in the Chicago suburbs, North Shore and specifically, and also top 1% at the company they're at, which is Baird Warner. They are, by the way, one of our most requested guests since we started the show. We're super honored to have them. Please visit their website, which is rubensteinfoxteam.bairdwarner.com. I'll post a link to that in the show notes. And welcome, Marlene and Dena.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. This is a really big honor for us to have you on the show. And Marlene, I would love to start with you and have you tell our audience, our listeners, how you got into real estate.
So my family, my father was a builder, and in my family, if you walked, you worked. And no one in my family really spoke English well. My family, every single aunts, uncles, cousins, mother and father, they were all Holocaust survivors.
Oh.
So my dad would build the condominiums. My mother had exquisite taste. She would decorate them, and I would rent them for the most part. My dad did a lot of rentals, and he built a lot of downtown Evanston. And just like any other child, I never listened to what my parents told me. So I went into retail and opened and trained salespeople all across the country, and then started a public relations and marketing company, did the Oscars for many years.
Wow.
And I had these wonderful children that I would see, but I was always working. And so one day I just thought, this is crazy, right? Like, I'm going to get my real estate license, because I would walk every morning and I'd say, see that house? It's going to sell. See that house? And it was just in my blood.
Sure.
So I chose Baird Warner because I liked their commitment to community. Because at the time I joined them, I had a public relations and marketing company where I married international retailers, because I liked retailers with a culture, and I married them with philanthropy. So I did a lot of philanthropy, and Dena and I are very involved. I founded the Women's Board of the National Kidney Foundation of Illinois. I'm very involved in the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum. So I liked that pulse, and I liked Baird Warner's commitment to community. So I joined Baird Warner. I joined their board of directors for their Goodwill Network, because that was interesting to me. And while I love real estate, for me, I'm a bit of a workaholic, right? So I hit the ground running. Love what I do, because that's just my personality. And Dena is a twin. And so they often heard me talking about it when they turned 21. I'm like, you got to get your license. And Dena, I actually was in New York one day, and a client wanted to look at a house almost on the lake in Glencoe. And Dena had just gotten her license. I'm like, Dena, I need your help. And they loved her. And at the time, she sold my most expensive house.
At 21?
At 21.
It was a little bit after that, but not far off. I was out of college. I think I was
okay, 22 maybe.
Yeah.
That is incredible. What a great story. And by the way, we should mention Dena not only is a twin, Dena has twins herself. So
that's correct. Twins and a 2-year-old.
Oh my gosh.
It's a wild ride in my house.
So Dena, tell us about, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. So like, what I love about real estate is I just love family, right? So the most important thing to me is family, and our clients sort of become our family, but I adore my children, right? Have a wonderful relationship with them, and they're a whole lot smarter than me. And so Dena will tell you a little bit about her background, and I kept saying to her, oh God, it would be my dream one day, but I'll let you talk about your background.
Yeah, so my background is in finance. I was in investment banking for a number of years out of college, and then went into corporate development for Discover and helped them launch their home equity loan business. And like my mom said, I had gotten my license when I was in college, and was looking for a way to be more client facing again, but also, kind of round up my skill set. I felt like as a business person, you need to have both finance skills and sales skills. And I felt like I had that finance and data skill set, but really had never learned how to sell or negotiate in my life. And anybody could tell you that that is one of the number one skill sets that my mom has, is that she, can sell a shirt off your back. So I figured nobody else, better to learn from than her. So I joined her in 2013 and really followed her and did everything with her for the first 6 months to learn how she did what she does. And even though, like she mentioned, I had helped her a little bit here and there beforehand. It wasn't an actual career for me at the time. And so nobody better to learn from than her. I mean, you so need a mentor in this business. And once I had, those 6 months under my belt and felt a little more comfortable, I started working with my own clients and really hit the ground running from there.
What was it difficult for you to make that transition from the corporate world to real estate?
Good question.
Yeah, it was. And it was actually one of the things that she warned me about the most, for a number of different reasons, I would say. One is that I'm a very A-type personality, and being in finance, you're working with a lot of like-minded people, very educated. And, frankly, I'll be honest with you, it was a bit of a pride thing for me coming into real estate. I felt like I was, well educated, and there's not very high barriers to entry to get into real estate. And there's a range of the type of realtors that are out there in terms of professionalism and how they conduct their business. And that was definitely a challenge for me in the beginning. But I learned that it was a way for me to really differentiate myself by having the background that I did and having the skill set that I did, because it was, quite unusual for somebody with my background. And frankly, at the time, somebody my age to be in the business. I mean, when I joined in 2013, it was not nearly as dominated by, young millennials like me as it is now.
It's true. When you joined, I remember an agent in our office commented that the average agent was 52 years old. So, and that was like 8 years ago,
right,
was the statistic. Today, and in the beginning, right, people wanted my experience, but they wanted her know-how, which is funny because where she really thrives and where she's extremely skilled is in the numbers. Like, she is a fact and precise person. Like, if you're dealing with an analytic type person, that's completely Dena. And that's something that's interesting in this business, is you need to know your client, right? Yep. You need to know, do they want to have a good time? Because we love to have fun, because they're going to become a part of our family. For us, we say this and we live this. And that is, there's only one thing that we care about. And at the end of the day, it's the relationship, because the relationship rules, right? Like, our clients become our family. We have people, I've always done a lot of relo because I love Chicago. So I love to show the architecture, and I like to take people on tours and really show them our town because it's such a great city. And we have people that have moved here from all over the world, and they don't have any family. So we become their family, and they join us for holidays. And, our team members, one of our team members is from Guatemala, and she's like, I had so many invitations for Thanksgiving, I didn't know where to go. And that's what we're all about, is
the relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and what you guys have done is truly remarkable, in not just specializing in the North Shore, which is where one of your offices is, but you also have expanded all the way down to the South Loop. And for our listeners who aren't located in Chicago, this is a wide area, and I really wanted to learn more about how you decided to create those specialties, how you brought on agents that could assist in those transactions.
Yeah. So when I partnered with my mom, she actually was already doing that entire area.
Amazing.
From the city to the suburbs. And so what we decided is that I would run our city business and she would run our North Shore business. And at the time, we were doing a couple million maybe in the city. And I want to say maybe when I joined, it was around 4 million or so. And now we do closer to 20 million in the city.
Right.
That's
And
incredible.
so it's been a huge growth area for us. And so the way that we do it, I mean, a lot of our clientele are first-time home buyers, and then first-time sellers. And so either people that are selling and upgrading to a bigger place in the city, or they're selling in the city and we're helping them buy in the suburbs, because there is this constant bridge between the North Shore and the city. And so they're very complementary markets for both of us to work in. And we're able to use our expertise in both those markets to better serve our clients. But it also helps because we work with renters too. So we start our relationship with our clients when they're renters. And then when they meet, then maybe they meet a spouse and they move into a bigger rental with another spouse
or a partner,
or and they decide that they want to buy their next place. So it really starts, at that age on the rental side and goes all the way up. But then the other side of it is we help people in the suburbs downsize, and often it's either to ranches or condos in the suburbs, or it's to condos in the city. Right. So it's this constant back and forth. And we found, especially with how the market has shifted in the last couple of years, it's incredibly important to have the knowledge of both markets because, for example, home sale contingencies have come up a lot again. Mm-hmm. And when we have our own sellers in the suburbs and the majority of their buyers are coming from the city, we can advise them about, whether or not their condo in the city is priced at the right point, or if it's something that we think is actually going to sell and something that they should accept or not. So that's been very, very beneficial to us, is that we're really able to help our clients at every stage of their life, regardless of where they're going, because we do cover these two complementary markets, and we represent the two sort of extremes of our clientele. I'm a millennial and she's a baby boomer, and millennials are huge drivers in the market right now.
Yeah. Wow. That's so impressive. And I love the fact that you are also doing rentals, because that's the start of the relationship for a lot of people, is their first introduction to working with a broker. And then hopefully, they stay with you throughout their entire lifetime, assuming they stay in Chicago. And they do that dual migration, when they're younger and they're ready to settle down and have children, and they want to move to the suburbs for a lot of reasons. They move up there, you guys help them. And then when they possibly move back after the kids, go off to college or they retire. So that is so smart. And can you talk about, because you guys have two offices, which is really helpful as well. You have one here in Lincoln Park. You have one up in the North Shore. How often are you guys traveling yourselves? Do you like to stay local, or are you just out and about always? So how does it work?
It's a good question. So I hold my license in the Lincoln Park office along with 2 other agents on our team. And then my mom holds her license in our Highland Park office along with 3 other agents on our team. And so one of those agents does both the city and the suburbs. So it's pretty split 50-50. And then we have a full-time licensed assistant who lives in the city and goes back and forth between our offices, but is mostly, I would say, in the Highland Park office, as well as a transaction coordinator who works more remotely. So in terms of the back and forth, I do it almost every day, to be honest with you. Sure. So I moved from the city to the suburbs almost 3 years ago. And originally my client base was probably 80 to 90% city clients. And now, because I live up here and a lot of my former clients and friends and colleagues are moving up here, my specific database of clients is about 50-50. But I have a number of listings in the city and a number of buyers in the city as well. So I go back and forth almost every day, which is why that office is hugely beneficial. Is we're able to keep stuff there. We've got great support there, and it's a place that we can go and just take care of some work when we have a gap in between, even in between any of our showings or client meetings.
And it's a neighborhood we know. Like, going back to the city, we could go back and forth 3 times a day and it's nothing for us, right? Because
Sure.
we live
Yeah.
our life in a car, we live our life on the phone.
Yeah.
So what does it matter where we are, right?
Right.
And prior to real estate, I owned a store on Oak Street and founded Oak Street Council. So I know that neighborhood. And then I had a public relations and marketing company all along downtown. So again, we know that area
Yeah.
really well. So for us, driving back and forth was nothing.
Right.
And one of our clients in the city relative to rentals was always the Four Seasons Hotel. We have just this magical relationship with them, and they bring recruits in and out. So rentals were part of it. And
very smart.
I think I want to just go back to something about rentals that Dena said is one of the biggest mistakes agents make is they get kind of arrogant about what they'll do and what they won't do.
Sure.
And frankly, rentals are annuities, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
they renew every year. And as Dena said, you know, they meet a partner, they meet a spouse, they meet a friend, right? And they trade up. And that trading up is part of real estate. You trade up and then you trade down. You meet people climbing the ladder, you meet people coming down, and how you build those relationships really matter. But
our rental clients have been a huge part of our referral
Huge.
base. Enormous. I mean, they refer us to other renters. Even
Right.
sometimes they find something on their own because, you know, we were so helpful to them. They still refer us other people. And we have an agent on our team who just converted a rental into a $1.6 million buyer.
right.
So
Amazing.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, we're not short-sighted with that.
Great point. I would say the same thing about relo. The relo business has changed a lot. It's more mouth to mouth, word to word. But relo business, I was the #1 relo agent because I love showing Chicago. Like, I love nothing more than getting somebody in the car and showing them the architecture of Chicago because it's our city. It has a heartbeat. And again, this is more than buying a house, right? It's an introduction to our city, to our arts, to our culture, to the theater. There's just so much about it, and there's so much beauty to see. Plus, remember that as agents, we have to hold our ethics dearly. So we can't steer anybody into any neighborhood, nor would we ever. We can't talk about schools. So when we move from community to community, whether we're doing an architecture tour or we have a relo agent that doesn't know if they want to live in Wilmette, Glencoe, Highland Park, or Lake Forest, you know, we'll have lunch in one suburb and coffee in another, and then we'll drive around and we start to feel the pulse of what makes them comfortable. So there's a reason for it as well as a joy, right? You know, are they city people? Are they urban people? Are they suburban? You know, you need to learn that personality, and we learn a lot in our car. We spend a lot of time with people.
Yeah, no, wow. Well said. And I just love the fact that you guys are willing to work in not only multiple geographic areas that you truly know well, whereas a lot of brokers will take listings in areas they don't know because they're maybe too scared to say that they don't know, or they don't want to give up the client even though they could earn a referral commission. You guys actually know these areas extremely well, which enables you to really separate yourself from a lot of other brokers out there, because you not only know the North Shore, you know all the way through the city, and you have the experience and also the systems in place. And I know Dena has been a really big help for you in developing processes and systems. And I would be curious, can you talk a little bit, Dena, about the processes you brought into place when you started working with your mom?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a very methodical, vertical thinker. And so that's how we sort of balance each other out, because she's more of the creative, outside the box type of person, whereas I am much more in the box and like a methodology to everything that we do. So I streamlined a couple of our processes. One was working with buyers. So what I did is I created a buyer consultation packet that we use with all of our first-time buyers, and frankly, some of our repeat buyers, just to have a reminder of how the process works. And what I do is anytime I, get referred or somehow get in touch with a new buyer, I sit down and meet with them in person, or if they're out of state, we set up a separate phone call before we start seeing properties, and we walk through the entire process. So I have an entire written out explanation of what happens from when you go under contract to when you close, as well as all the categories of closing costs that they can expect, because I think there's two very big surprises that I find with buyers. One is that they don't realize that there's closing costs in addition to a down payment. And two, they don't realize that they don't have to put down 20%.
Right.
And so, it's our job to educate them on that. So, it talks about what the different closing costs that they can expect, the categories and general ideas so that they know. There's a whole flow chart that walks them through the process as well. I show them what a blank contract looks like, and we go page by page about what the contract is. Because what I have found is that in this day and age, we do it too. We use DocuSign. Everybody signs electronically, and they just tab right through the entire
They don't
contract.
read. Right.
They don't read it, and it's our job to make sure that they know what they're signing. And so even though we always offer to go through it with them, a lot of the time they're like, no, we're good. So at least I know that I went through it with them on the front end. And in addition to that, just giving them tips on do's and don'ts if you're getting a mortgage, in terms of keeping your financial status, status quo, and what type of documents they would need in order to get a pre-approval, as well as we give them like a list of our preferred inspectors, and we educate them on what a home warranty is. So I really made that a whole packet that we use with our buyers, and it's been really beneficial to our buyers as well as the agents on our team in order to educate their clients on what the process looks like. And so on the flip side, for sellers, we have a really defined pre-marketing strategy that we use that we really, again, wrote out and created a process for, once I joined the team. And basically what we do is, we learned that in the market of, everybody having access to so much information and people using Zillow and Redfin, the consumers these days are able to see it all on their own.
Sure.
Anything that's on the market, they can get that. They even go into the tax records sometimes on their own. They're very savvy. And so, and real estate has become a hobby for a lot of consumers too. And so what we do is we focus a lot on how to provide value through off-market listings. And so we pre-market our properties before they go on the market through a number of different channels. We're part of the Top Agent Network, both for the city and the suburbs, which you need 2 separate memberships for. And again, is really beneficial to have both those memberships for our listings and for our buyers. And then we also use the private network of the MLS. We do reverse prospecting. We do coming soon signs on our listings as well, which we were one of the first to do this. I want to say maybe 5+ years ago, when it was considered a taboo to be putting up a coming soon sign.
And I think we're not afraid to be a trailblazer. She's not kidding you about that. We took a lot of heat for that.
Why was there a problem around coming soon signs? What was the stigma around that?
Well, the biggest issue is that realtors don't like to not know about something that their clients know.
Right.
And while we respect that, our goal is to sell the house and do the best job that we can for sellers. Right. And frankly, where she's going with this is you need a trial run, right? Because everybody thinks you're selling someone's largest investment. So everybody thinks that their house is worth more than it is. And we, frankly, will have that conversation. Like you will learn, as you've already learned, she runs our business with her head because she's so smart and she's so detailed and methodical. I run her business with my heart, right? I have to listen, I have to feel it. But the reality is that a seller is very emotional.
Right.
So go on.
Right. So through all of these different channels, it really gives us an opportunity to do a trial run on our listing. So sometimes it'll just be for a couple days. Sometimes it'll be indefinite. But what it does is if there's ever, a difference in what we think the price should be versus our clients, we'll say, look, let's try your price point off market. We'll test it and let's see what feedback we get. Let's see what activity we get. And if we're not able to get it under contract, or we're not getting the anticipated activity and interest that we would like, then let's make an adjustment when we go live on the market. And so it really gives us the opportunity to give the best first impression possible when we go live. whether it's price, whether it's condition, whether it's figuring out accessibility, because those are really the three key items that drive the market these days. And then it, so it does, it allows us to make adjustments as needed. And it also allows them to get their place ready if need be. It also helps with convenience factor. So we work with a lot of clients that have young kids. And once we activate that listing, we don't want to have to say no to showings. It's a lot easier to manage those showings when it's not on the market. And it also gives it a certain exclusivity. So that was like coming back to what I was saying before. It's a huge thing to be able to offer up to clients and buyers that everything that's on, but you want to know what's not on the market. We always talk about, we equate it to like when you're walking into a clothing store and you see everything that's out on the racks, but there's a box by the cash register saying they just got in, they're starting to unwrap. Like you want to know what's in that box. It's the same type of thing. And we do it a lot with our buyers as well. I mean, between the two, I want to say on average, we sell probably 6 properties of our own listings off market every year, and at least another 6 that we represent buyers on every year.
At least.
Wow.
So, and it's, it's a big part of our business. So I put up a sign in one of our listings in Highland Park in the fall, and within 15 minutes I had people wanting to come see it, and we sold it literally immediately. And it's a thing where, either we'll be driving around or we'll see something pop up, or with our relationship with agents, we'll hear about something off market and we'll get in there.
Night. Right. We went and saw something last night. We wrote an offer on it. We're the second person to walk through the door, and they were just getting it ready. Because the other thing is that we spend a lot of time getting our properties ready. Sometimes they got to be painted. They've got to be organized. We bring in a stager. We work with a handful of vendors that, we're tried and true with, because if we have a vendor and somebody has a criticism about them, we won't use them again, because that's really our representation. So we have this tool belt, we call it, of people that are just amazing and that we can rely on and that we trust, because our clients trust us, and that's critical.
Yeah. Wow. You guys just said a lot. I actually want to, one of our questions that I was going to read from our listeners has to do with staging. So good time to bring this up. So we had, let me find the question. Dan in New York, a listener in New York says, with luxury listings, what percentage of we can really do this with all listings. So with your listings, what percentage of the time do you stage the home, and do you use a professional staging company? You mentioned you do, or do you ever do it yourself?
So we are big believers in, you need to do what you do best. So as a sideline, whenever we sell a house, we have somebody talk to a tax attorney, because that's not our specialty. Right. We have a mortgage lender that we work with that, people talk to them about financial terms. We stay out of what we're not professionals in, okay? But we have a great group of professionals. To answer your question about staging, you only have one opportunity to make an impression.
Yeah.
And it is critical that you use all those tools to get there. Because to be penny wise and pound foolish, it's no longer the Sorry.
That's okay.
It's no longer the millennial, the baby boomers point of view of, let's price our house up here. Because if you price your house up here, there are 3 ways to price a house. Today, you got to be at or under market, or in order to drive multiple offers and multiple sales, but you got to be ready. So yes, we would only work with a professional stager, and we work with painters and stagers and organizers, because different homes need different things.
We have relationships with a number of different stagers, and I would say the vast majority of our vacant listings we will have staged, because the problem is when it's vacant, it ends up selling at a discount because you see everything. You don't have furniture to distract from the little,
very smart
scuff marks or the nicks, and so it's almost more of a distraction when it's vacant, because the room sizes all look smaller. And the condition of it doesn't look very good. And so it's a really, really important element of selling a property, is to make it look its best.
Yeah,
Wait,
we're in the Instagram world where everyone wants to see everything look perfect, and even
yes.
our dinners and especially the homes you walk into. There used to be many years ago, there was some opinions that no, leave the rooms empty so people could visualize their stuff in there, and that is just not the way it is anymore.
No, but what's interesting relative to visualizing is you have a lot of tools of the trade today, right? You can virtually stage
That's
a room.
true.
You can change a wall color. You could
change cabinet colors.
Right, correct. And that's very important. However, again, virtual staging isn't real staging.
Right.
So it's different. It gives you an impression because most of your buyers are looking online at night, but you need multimedia. You need video. You need aerial pictures. You need videos. You need photographs. You need floor plans. Like, I think that's the other thing is we don't open a door on a listing without spending nearly $1,000 at a minimum, because we spend so much money per listing, because
Right.
either we're the right team for you, and we got to make your house right, because there's a partnership. So I think sometimes sellers are afraid to spend money and agents are afraid to spend money. This is a business, and we run it like a business, and we have very high overheads because people have very high expectations of us, and we don't want to disappoint them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet it drives you crazy when you see other listings out there, especially higher priced homes that don't have some of those like floor plans or video, and maybe there's professional photos, but that might be it, right? And it's amazing how often agents either aren't willing to do that or aren't willing to have those conversations with the sellers to tell them, hey, we need to make a great first impression. We need to do this right.
Yeah, everybody does their business differently.
All right, let's go to a few other questions that I think are related to what we're talking about. So here's an interesting question. This is a guy named Gary in Indiana, maybe from Gary in Indiana, I don't know, but his name is Gary in Indiana, asks, my average sales price, I don't know where he is in Indiana, but he says, my average sales price is $250,000. I feel stuck because I would like to service more the luxury market, but I'm not certain how to find those clients. How should I start? Any suggestions about breaking into more higher priced, maybe higher net worth clientele or higher priced properties?
So it depends on your market area, right? Like for instance, we both grew up and lived in Glencoe. I lived in Glencoe. I grew up as a child in Glencoe, lived there, raised my family there. She lives there now. The average price of a home in Glencoe is about $1 million, right? So Our market drives us there, but yet where we sell higher priced homes on the North Shore in the city, the crust of the business is $300 to $1,000, right? So you can't, to Gary in Indiana, be authentic to who you are. If your marketplace average price point is $250,000, sorry, I'm missing a few zeros here. In order to trade up, you've got to be in the right market area, and units are equally as important as dollars because you have to service your clients. But you have to know your market area.
Well, and the other thing I would say is, offer to do open houses for brokers with listings at a higher price point. If that's where you want to try and build your business and learn about that price point and try to get buyers in that price point. And then once you start doing a little bit in a higher price point, you can try farming in that price point, but you have to start it somewhere. I mean, I think one of the best ways to either enter or break through enter the market or break through a certain market is one, by having a mentor, which is something this guy could do, is he could, try and shadow somebody that does a higher price point, and two, by sitting open houses.
Thank you both great answers there. And it's funny, it's kind of good timing. I was hosting a top producer panel yesterday, and somebody asked a very similar question, was, hey, I'm new, I don't really know what to do. And two of the three panelists, all top 1% producers like yourselves, said, oh, you need to be doing open houses every weekend and just beg everyone in your office to do them, and keep begging them until they finally let you do it. And it's, you'll learn, number one, how to talk to people about real estate. So you get a lot of experience having those conversations, and you'll also be able to see how it's done. So it's one of those things that even at our firm, we have hundreds and hundreds of agents at our firm. And I tell all of the new ones, look, we have hundreds of agents. We have lots of listings. Go approach our brokers and ask them if you can host open houses. Most of the time, they'll probably say yes. Maybe not always, but it's certainly worth a shot. And if you have nothing else to do, what a great way to stay busy and probably generate some buyer leads along the way too.
Right. But if you're going to do an open house, have a strategy.
Yes.
Right. Know your neighborhood. Know the inventory surrounding your neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Learn some of the neighbors. Learn something about the neighborhood. Right. Do your homework.
Yes. Yeah, that couldn't be overstated, because it's actually pretty easy to get an open house. Just ask somebody who's got a nice listing and, maybe they'll let you. But that doesn't necessarily mean you should do the open house if you don't have value to bring to those buyers who are walking in the door. Mm-hmm. And you need to know at least 10 to 20 things about the house and the area to be able to provide them any value. Otherwise, you might as well not be there, right?
Right.
Yeah. So thank you. Well, really well said. Okay, another question. Okay, this is a really good question. So this is Lisa in California asks, how often for luxury listings do you as the listing agent have to find the buyer? So she says, I have a $3.5 million single family home listed and it's priced correctly, but we're not getting any action. This is my first big listing. Any suggestions?
What community?
Somewhere in California. That's all we know.
Okay, so the higher the price of the home, the narrower the audience.
Sure.
And the more money you're going to spend to market it. It has a longer lead time. It has more days on market, and you got to get creative. You really do. So again, it depends on the kind of house. Is it a lakefront house? Today, I would say people want experience. So we were called in on a ranch farm that was a $6 million ranch farm in Colorado, and they couldn't give it away. And they asked our opinion, and the realtor did a video and spent a lot of money on it saying, this is the living room and this is the dining room. And I said, stop. You need to show the horse farm. You need to show horses running. You need to show golf. You need to show lifestyle. Skiing. Today, people want to know, remember when people buy a house, they're buying a dream.
Yeah.
So when you walk in, it's as simple as setting the dining room table. But when you're buying a $3.5 million house, what's the lifestyle? How do you share the lifestyle of both the home, the community, and the neighborhood?
Yep. Yeah, and I have a thing to tack onto that. So that's a really, really great way to start thinking about what the clientele that are going to be purchasing this home, what are they looking for? How do you market to them? And then, you could also do some searching, assuming in California, the MLS allows you to do this, but see what other brokers have brought buyers to properties like yours and have closed deals, and reach out to those brokers and say, hey, I need some help here. Do you have any clients that want to come see this? How would you help me market the property? Maybe even partner up if you're struggling.
Right. I think you have to be very proactive, and there's ways to look at what agents are showing what properties. And, if they haven't shown yours yet, to call them and say, I think that this could work for your client and would be worthwhile since they viewed these other properties. There's so many different ways that you can do it, but you have to be very proactive. And I agree, the lifestyle and experience is such a huge part of luxury listings. I mean, there's a reason that people are wanting to spend that.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question. So I have a question around renters, because I know you guys also work with renters, which a lot of realtors don't do or don't really know about, or maybe think aren't worth their time. Obviously, we know that it is worth a broker's time because you're living proof, of course. And the question being about, at what point do you have a conversation with a renter, assuming they haven't bought a home in their history prior to you working with them? When do you start introducing the idea of, hey, your lease is going to, this is a 12-month lease. I want to start talking to you about maybe buying a property at the end of this lease, and at least go through the numbers and see if it makes sense. Like, do you guys have a process for that? And how do you begin those conversations?
It's a great question. It depends on the renter.
Right.
And it depends on the stage in their life.
Sure.
So, and it depends on how much are they spending, right? Because once you're spending over $2,000 a month, if you think about interest rates, if they're 3% or 4% in a very simple equation, you can equate it to every $100,000 you borrow is $300, right? For 3%, every $100,000 you borrow could be $400 at 4%. So if you use that equation and you're looking at a $300,000 home at 4%, that's $1,200 a month, right? Plus how much you're going to put down, how much can you put down, and what are the assessments and what are the taxes. And on that note, we also have a process where we show properties. We do a spreadsheet for every showing we do. So we can say, whether it's rental or purchase, we can say, you know, it's more than just what you spend. It's all the other expenses that go with it.
Sure.
But to answer your question, it depends on the person. Like when you're talking to somebody that's just fresh out of college, they can't think about buying, right? So you got to think about, you know, are you going to get a roommate? How much do you want to spend? You know, we sold an investment property to somebody that was so creative. They had numbers they needed to meet, and they couldn't rent a duplex for the number they wanted. So what they did is they rented the rooms, right? And instead of getting $1,800, they rented 4-bedroom at $600 each and got $2,400. They shared the common area. So again, it depends on who you're working with. And I don't want to keep moving this over, but when you get somebody out of college, you know, you got to get them in the right location. Where are they working? Because they're not going to stay at their first job, right? And where do they want to be, right? And then as they trade up, either with a partner, with a roommate, with a boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, whatever, you know, then there's different categories, right? Would you add to that?
Yeah, I think it depends on what their sort of general timing is of how long they want to, where they see themselves going, which they may or may not know, you know, and what their budgets are like, and you have to feel them out. We really do, I will say, pride ourselves on not pressuring our clients. So it's really getting a pulse for what they're comfortable with and where they're at in life, and sort of planting seeds for them of, you know, this is something for you to consider, but we're their advocate and their ally. And so we don't want them to ever feel like we're pushing them to do something that they don't feel comfortable doing, while at the same time making sure that we're helping them think through everything that makes sense for them financially and where they're at in life.
And that's such a great point. That's such a great point, because don't forget, the one thing we're not talking about is what's their credit score, right? So today I would say, if you're looking to rent, the best thing you can do is talk to a great lender. Like we love Todd Schwartz at Mutual of Omaha. He's become a part of our family, and he is such a great finance guy. And he may work with you on a loan or not a loan, but he'll help you to say, hey, you know, let me look at your credit report with you. Maybe you need to pay off this bill and you can pick up 35 points. So I think young people today don't understand. Maybe they've never had a credit card, so they don't have any credit. Or maybe they've had a credit card and misused it. Or maybe they have college debt. So they need to talk to a professional to make sure that their credit score gets higher, because what their rate will be in the mortgage world depends on what their credit score is.
And their debt to income.
Yeah. So you're talking really about strategic partnerships. You talked about having, you know, partners in place, you know, stagers, you know, videographers, also lenders, attorneys, title companies, all of the different ancillary services that you want your clients to come to you to say, hey, this is what we're looking for. And then you can say, okay, we have somebody who's a great appraiser or inspector or, you know, fill in the blank. And how important are those strategic, well, you just talked about the Todd from Mutual of Omaha. How important are those strategic partnerships for your business?
Oh, they're huge. I mean, they're part of our process. They're part of our business and our relationships. I mean, the number of times that you know, we've got this incredible handyman who's also an electrician that our clients absolutely love and become, you know, he becomes like part of their family, and then they refer them around. I mean, it's so huge to have all of those tradesmen and vendors under your belt, so that any type of need that your clients ever have, you've got a guy for them. And along those lines, actually, one of the things that we do for our clients, we do a closing prep document for them, usually about 1 to 2 weeks prior to closing, whether it's for a buyer or a seller. And in that closing prep document, in addition to like closing details, letting them know, about wiring funds or how proceeds are going to be received, is at the bottom, we include a list of all of our preferred tradesmen and vendors for any of their type of needs that they have, whether it's handyman, electrician, plumber, painter, etc. And then we also advise them on, here's a type of home maintenance things that you need to be thinking about and doing, regularly. And so with that, we'll say, here's an HVAC servicer that we can recommend and make sure that you're doing this twice a year. Here's somebody who can clean your gutters, and this is when you should be doing it. So really, educating them and also providing them with the resources they need in order to keep up with that.
One of our clients was teasing us because we got a guy. We got a guy for everything. They're like, you should write a book. I got a guy, But I think the point Dena made is like with our handyman, who we absolutely love. I mean, he was helping a woman one time. He ended up taking her to the hospital and sat with her and called me until I came to the hospital because her kids were out of town. Like, we all work together in the same flavor and personality and sincerity. It's who we are, right? Like, we really care about our clients. If they're sick, I'm going to make them chicken soup and bring it over, right? If we're in an inspection, we're going to bring food. If we're at a closing, it's a party, right? Like, we live our life the way we run our real estate business, and everyone on our team amplifies that and lives that and breathes that, and it's just different. You know what? It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Right. Yeah, I think the main point I've heard from you guys both throughout the course of this conversation is having a professional process that is really baked around demonstrating care and compassion, right? It's how do we bring our clients into our family and become part of each other's family, and you do that through care, and it seems like through all your processes, they're always based around this idea of demonstrating that you guys care about them, whether it's through information, whether it's through fun or concern if they're struggling. I think that probably endears your clients to you forever. Which of course will naturally increase your business. So obviously you guys have been doing a great job of that over the years. And I actually want to ask, because it's our final question, and I think it leads into a very interesting one. So I don't have a first name, just the first initial R. R in Chicago asks, are you looking to add brokers, agents to your team? And if so, what are you looking for in a team member?
It's a great question. And yes, we are, especially for our city business. We're looking to add some more agents. What we really look for is not only a fit with our team, but somebody who is hungry and motivated. Somebody who's looking, who's honest, and this is such a personal, confidential business. And we work with a lot of the time, people that know each other, and we don't want them to know that we're working with them, and we have to keep so much information private. So I would say, in addition to that, somebody who's really looking for this, either they're new to the business or they've been in the business for a bit, but that it's their career, that it's not just something that they're doing on the side. And somebody who is a team player, that's incredibly important. We're all here to support each other. We do a lot of training with the agents when they join our team, and provide them with a lot of support and resources. And we want to make sure that they're part of the team and that they're supporting the team as well.
And trustworthy. Personality matters, right? Like, I had somebody call me yesterday who had worked with us in the past, and we had some issues with, I'll call it, forgive the expression, chick shit, right?
Sure.
And we're a family that takes care of each other. So if you're not going to be that kind of personality, we're not the right team for you, right? Because we don't accept in our clients to be talked to in a way that is condescending, and we don't talk about each other. So that is paramount within how we live, because we can't service you best unless we service you together. Because when you get one of us, you get all of us, right? Like,
Right.
While she does the city and I do the suburbs, our clients move and they want us. So it doesn't matter where we are. And, in the height of the season right now, we're so busy, we have to multiply ourselves. So sometimes you're going to get one of us, but you might get someone else on our team, because the answer to any question you're going to ask is yes. Now, how do we make it happen?
Right.
So yes, we need more team members. Yes, we're looking for a personality and a professionalism and a trust and sincerity. And yes, we're also looking for somebody that's dynamic and terrific in marketing and social media,
Right.
because that's a growing part of our business. So we have a lot of needs as our business grows, but we need somebody that understands that you got to walk before you run, because it doesn't
Right.
happen instantly. You have to learn it. And to that point, we have mentors. There's
Right.
What we love about Baird and Warner is there's a mentor in our business. His name's Dean Russo. He was our first competitor. I love Dean, right?
Yeah.
Dean was our mentor in building a team, and Dean brought us into the Tom Ferry organization. And, we work with the marketing coach, Jason Pantana and Tom Ferry, and they're very invested in our business, and they make us better at what we do. Mm-hmm. And they keep us on track, and we have a lot of respect for them, and want to really shout out to them, because we become better because of the people that care about us, so we can care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just before I forget, if we have listeners that think they would be a fit based on all of the criteria you just laid out about what you're looking for, that'll help you build the team and also build that broker's business, and be part of your family, what's the best way they should be reaching out to you?
They
should reach out directly to me, actually, as I sort of am the first step in screening people and meeting with people. So they can either text me or call me at 847-899-4666, or they can email me at dena.fox@bairdwarner.com.
Wonderful. And one last question around coaching, since Marlene, you just brought this up, and I think it's such an important one. How important is coaching, and would you recommend to most agents, if not all agents, that they should get themselves a real estate coach? You mentioned you work with the Tom Ferry organization. Obviously, they're one of the big coaching firms. How important has coaching been for you guys?
I think it's crucial. It's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning, that you always need a mentor, regardless of what stage of your career you're in. And so whether you're new and you're being mentored by another agent, or you've been in the business for a while, and, we have not only a real estate coach, we have a business coach as well. So you always need somebody to keep you on your toes and fresh with your ideas and be critiquing you, because nobody does this perfectly, and there's always ways to improve, and there's always ways that you can keep learning. And so I think it's important for every agent to have somebody in their life like that.
I agree. And even we have the most amazing assistant, Jen, and Jen has a resource that she can lean on as well. And Dena is really the one that was behind coaching. She was a competitive ice skater, and she knew the value of coaching in her competitive ice skating career. So I would have to tip my hat to her, because I don't listen as well as she does. So I would say coaching has been critical for both of us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, every professional athlete or competitive ice skater has a coach, right? So if the top athletes in the world for across all sports have coaches, probably a good idea for the rest of us too, right?
And frankly, that's part of our job, is to coach people, right? I mean, that's what we're doing, regardless of who we're working with. Is we're coaching and advising them, so we have to be coached as well.
And we go to 4 conferences at least a year, because we got to stay ahead of the trends. There's so much to read and to listen to, because if the housing market is down, or the coronavirus is dropping the stock market 800 to 1,000 points, this all, or an election year, it all affects our business. Sure. And if we're not current with current events and what's happening in the world, or that the average buyer today is 35 years old, you need to know this, because you need to change your presentation and if you don't know trends, you can't live and work to trends.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. The more you know, and the more you invest in your business by doing things like getting coaching and attending conferences and staying up on knowing when interest rates drop, and then maybe even reaching out to past clients saying, hey, you need to talk to your lender because rates just dropped. It might be a good time to refi. And if you don't have a lender, talk to my guy at Mutual of Omaha, because he's excellent. You get to bring this knowledge to clients. And I know you guys do that, and you do it obviously very, very well. So congratulations on all your continued success and into the future. And again, if there are any brokers that are listening that would like to join a team like Marlene and Dena's, please reach out to Dena directly. We'll put your contact information also in the show notes. You'll probably get a lot of responses, so I apologize for that in advance, but hopefully you guys can find a gem or two in there to help grow even further.
And DJ, we want to say thank you to you, right? Because it was the same thing like when Chicago Agent nominated us as the best team in Chicagoland. We were like, really, us? And then when we won it, it was, we really never marketed it because we were so flattered, and we really want to acknowledge, Chicago Agent Magazine, DJ, and the people that call us up like you, and all of your listeners that say, how do you do it? We're very accessible. As Dena said, text her at 847-899-4666. Text me at 847-565-6666. 6 is a great number for us, but we're very accessible by text. And we want to make a difference in people's lives. And we can't do that without people like you. So to you and to your listeners, it really means a lot to us. We just want to say thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having us. And we're always here for agents to meet with and to ask questions and just provide some advice.
Well, on behalf of the listeners, we thank you because you're sharing so much good information that they can actually take some of what you said and apply it to their business. And I always think that, what's the expression, that a rising tide raises all ships, right? So this idea of bringing this information to the market so that other realtors can learn from your successes is really, we're so honored that you took the time. And I know how busy the both of you are, obviously, with all the accolades and business you're currently doing. We know it's not easy for you to find time to do this. So thank you on behalf of the listeners. And then on behalf of course, Marlene and Dena, as Marlene Dena just said, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. If everyone listening just tells one other realtor about this podcast, we'll double our listenership. And what that enables us to do is do more episodes and get more sponsors and service more people. So please, everyone, tell a friend. Also, follow us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/keepingitrealpod. Every single day, we post an article that we find online written specifically to help realtors grow their business. And of course, we post all of our episodes here. Also, visit the Rubenstein Fox Team at rubensteinfoxteam.bairdwarner.com. And all their contact information is there. Follow them as well on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you can get to right from their website. And again, if you're interested in joining their team, reach out to Dena and she'll let you know if it's a good match. But guys, thank you so much. And we really appreciate, and this is a real honor for us. It's been something we've wanted to have you on the show for a couple of years now. So we're so grateful that you were able to find the time. So thank you so much.
Thank you as well.
Thank you.